we go.
Okay, just like the last game, it's a queen's pawn opening, and how will Magnus react? In this tournament, we've already seen him play the Dutch defense, the King's Indian defense, the Grunfeld defense, every opening. And now, okay, it's a Queen's Gambit. Maybe Netflix show inspiring the two players. Will we see the Queen's Gambit accepted, which means Black capturing this white pawn that's just moved, taking the gambited pawn? But no, the Gambit is declined, and Magnus goes for the Slav, laughing meanwhile. This time not laughing about falling asleep, laughing about something else clearly, but this is known as one of the most solid openings in chess. Black just puts pawns on light squares, blocks things up, and tries to stay solid. So, okay, right now Duda has got to decide whether to trade pawns to the center, bring his knight out, push a pawn. This is a line I think we call the slow Slav, just because things will take a while to open up later.
Yeah, I was just about to say this. I have seen him playing the real Slav. I think usually he goes for the...
Yeah, it's a clever move order that has actually been advocated by Sam Shankland in his chessable course. I'm not quite sure it's a slow Slav, but anyway, the whole point is you don't have to deal with pawn takes pawn, and just a nice kind of move order trick. And Magnus actually choosing the queen, developing the queen, which is a solid, and white is just going for a slightly better position.
Yep, Duda developing the queen there, and Magnus reacting by putting no urgency for that. Both sides just developing pieces, maybe aiming for pawn breaks later. Meanwhile, Duda, he's staring up into the heavens. You can just sidestep and capture a pawn. Magnus does this. You could have captured the other pawn as well on the left side. That would have been strong too. But yeah, it's looking very good for Magnus right now. He's a pawn up, and White's struggling to create counter threats. Any compensation here Okay, the white bishop steps back. That is a bad sign for Duda. And okay, Magnus now, can he continue being greedy? If the black rook goes away from the center though, maybe white's queen can re-centralize itself. He's relying on tricks to save this game. Magnus is a pawn up, and Magnus is completely dominant on the dark squares.
Do you think definitely Jan-Krzysztof will lose this? With also 30 seconds on the clock?
It's looking likely, but I mean, the win isn't clear cut, right? I mean,
Somehow.
Magnus still has to put in some effort and try and find it.
It all depends on white's far advanced pawn actually. If you can ever dislodge the black queen and push that pawn, you might even win with white, but for now that white pawn is under lock and key, and yeah, I mean, okay, Magnus does get greedy as I mentioned, and now 2 pawns up for black. How do you break through on the dark squares? That's a problem. Okay, white sidesteps with his rook, huge threat in the position. White, I mentioned the back rank checkmates against the white king. Now black's king is the one threatened. White's rook wants to step up to the top of the board, and that would actually end in checkmate because white's bishop covers the only escape square for the black king. Magnus can deal with this, right? He can step back with his bishop, for example. The dark square bishop block the white queen's diagonal.
Yeah, and unfortunately that was logical and very good. And now the queen, I guess, has to maybe threaten something. Maybe move the queen to the edge of the not to the edge of the board, to the middle of the board, and at least threaten a check.
Yeah, the white queen, as mentioned, needs to centralize herself. There we go. There was actually a huge threat, as Jan mentioned. The white queen and bishop lined up on the same diagonal, trying to sneak through to the black king. That's just been blocked by Magnus's last pawn push. Suddenly black's king is super safe.
And now here I suggest, when in doubt, push Harry. I mean, and the thing is that I kind of want to activate the rook, but that's not really possible. But if you go into the corner, the issue still remains that the white king is potentially unsafe, can be vulnerable to a rook coming down to the first row, and that would be something that is called the back rank mate. Difficult job now.
Yeah, and there was also one trick in the position. White's rook wanted to come up to the 7th rank on the last go, but it would have just been captured. And yeah, this one looking very one-sided traffic right now. Magnus, all he needs to do, bring the black rook into the game, back, and I can't even see a move for white at this point.
No, he will stop on the c file and then it's over.
Yeah, you're right, Pontus.
And then he's going to step up with the king or something quite soon.
Yes.
And so I think this is it's not very good for Duda.
There's still some kind of tricks, you know, maybe there's the possibility of white playing bishop takes pawn. So I like your move of just stepping up with the king.
That's a very Magnus move, stepping forward with the black king, just covering everything, defending everything. But instead, Magnus grabs another pawn. He's actually 3 pawns up, and we just see